Dwalin is one of the strongest tier 1 commanders in the game, and man, you get to start with him if you pick the dwarves. In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about this commander with a heavy emphasis on where you should put your talent points. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this Lord of the Rings Rise to War video, I'm going to be talking about Dwalin, who is one of my favorite commanders, not because I started with him, and I was worried about this at first. I was like, man, Chisgule, are you just hyped about this commander because you got him at the start and he's what you're using? But the more I used him, the more I've been very happy with how he's been performing, both against other players and for capturing tiles. So in this video, I want to break it down. Why is Dwalin so freaking strong? I've got him to loyalty level 5, but I want to talk with you about the points that you can use on this commander. And I will call out a number of things that are very important to think about. First of all, as you progress with your loyalty levels, you will have access to more of his trees here. And I think that the way that we should be judging these commanders is to get a look at what's available at each of the different loyalty levels, because not everybody is going to have the higher levels of loyalty unlocked. And if you only have him at loyalty levels 0 through 2, he's fine. When you get to loyalty level 3, things pick up a little bit, and I'll talk about why. And when you finally get to loyalty level 5, this is where he becomes really gangbuster, and I'm going to talk about that a fair amount too. So first, let's just look at what you get at his lowest levels of loyalty, so as a new player, you know what you're up to. And I will make the argument that the very first place you should put your points, if you are at loyalty levels 0 through 2, meaning you only have access to this set of talent points, that you pick Experienced Warrior and you start up here. What are you getting up here? First of all, you are boosting the commander's normal attack damage. Every turn, you do normal attack damage. This is boosting the damage that you deal. The next thing that you will be getting as you go is these little side points, and these are actually extremely good. The first one I want to call your attention to is Collaboration. This is just extra damage every single turn. You will see this in the battle report as a separate line item, as extra damage dealt, and it's freaking amazing. So I would be putting points into Experienced Warrior, and at the same time, drop points into Collaboration because it's really good. In fact, 1 point into Experienced Warrior, for perspective, is boosting my normal attack damage by a small percentage, right? It's going to give me, what is this? Not, about 4%. Okay, but when I put 1 point over here into Collaboration, I'm getting way more than 4% extra damage. So yes, you want to be dropping points into Collaboration as frequently as you can put them there when you're in the start of the game and you're using this build that I'm showing you, working on Experienced Warrior. In addition, Hunt Down makes it so that after the commander does an attack against the enemy, you improve your damage dealt by 1.6% damage, modified by your might stat for 2 rounds, and you can get 2 stacks of this going. So basically, you do extra damage based on your might stat, boosting that up. So this is a pointer that if you take this, you're going to want to stack a lot of might onto this commander, and I think might is the way to go here with Dwalin. Just stack tons of might as I capture a tile over there. Now, looking to the bottom of the tree here, Musician is something I used a lot, and I decided I didn't really like it. Why is that? Musician is giving you a % boost to your army's speed and a % boost to your army's defense. Well, there's a problem here. Boosting your defense by a % I found to be fairly lackluster because it's just a very small amount of total points that you are boosting your defense. It really is. And the same was true with speed. I get that it makes you march faster, significantly faster, and marching is very annoying. Watching your troop go somewhere for 30 minutes or longer is really, it's something, all right? But what makes Musician good, and I didn't like it for Dwalin because I'm using dwarves, is if you did get all the way to the top, you get +3 army attack. Well, where is +3 army attack good? This is really amazing when you are bringing the units that have a lot of troops per command. Let me explain. If I show you the units that I have, okay, I can show you these Iron Warriors. Well, these are 50 units per command. Or let me give you another example, the Björnings. They are 4 units per command. Let me tell you something. Boosting a Björning's attack by 3 when they already do 350 to 420 damage really isn't doing very much, is it? But Okay, all it's doing, by the way, is making it so that it's 553 to 423. Okay, because it's boosting it by a flat amount, not a percentage. But if you go and you're using mostly axe throwers, these master throwers, well, now we have a different ballgame entirely. Because here, if you're boosting your damage by 3, that's a big deal. You are taking your minimum damage and making it 8, and you're making your upper end of damage 33 and making it 36. Do you see what I mean? And not only do you have 50 units, you actually have 100 units that are getting that benefit. So the DPS boost, the damage per second boost, is much larger on a master thrower, or in general with that attack boost, if you have all command units that are very large rather than very small. And that example I gave of the Bjornings, I think, is really good. So I find myself using Rams and Iron Warriors, which means I'm really not getting all that much benefit from 3 attack. At least that's how I felt. And so I switched off of that almost entirely. And I say almost entirely because I put the requisite 2 points in to get 1 point over here and 1 point over here. Now, I don't think that these skills are overly amazing, level-headed, and also relief. But here's what they do. They're basically giving you some healing, and it's taking advantage of the focus stat to do that healing. So while we had an ability over here that benefits from might, here are abilities that benefit from focus. So a focus-based build would be very different for this commander, but you are healing the allied unit with the highest defense. Now, why is that good? Because, man, if you're using dwarves, I mean, you got your tanky frontliner that's going to get healed. That's pretty good. You can bring less of those units using dwarves because you know that they're going to get healed, and you know they're already very tanky. But the thing that I liked even more is right over here, level-headed, removing 1 random debuff. I mean, that was worth putting 1 point into, right? 1 point to get remove a random debuff. Even if it didn't do the other healing effect, that was worth it. So I felt like 2 points in a musician and a point into each of these was pretty worthwhile. And I wouldn't have Dwalin leave your city without having those 4 points allocated. Those feel very high impact to me. So from here, where else can you put points? When you get to loyalty level 3, you unlock a huge amount of skill damage on your commander. Now, this was really confusing to me for a very long time. What in the world is skill damage, man? So you have normal attack damage that we were looking at over here, and skill damage is any ability you get from this tree, okay, that says skill. So collaboration actually is a skill, okay, from what I can tell, that is boosted by Durin's Blood. If we get a look over here, Whirlwind is skill, okay, boosted by Durin's Blood. You've got All In, boosted by Durin's Blood. You actually don't want to put a lot of points into Durin's Blood unless you actually have things that do skill damage. So I at one time had a build that was like 15 points over here, 15 points over here, and it did not make any sense at all. Some of the best points are these little points off to the side, and you really need to take them, okay? So from there, I really like Whirlwind. It does a ton of damage to 2 targets. And also, you've got All In, which does a ridiculous amount of damage to 1 target. But on the next round, you do less damage. So All In is doing damage on round 3. Whirlwind is doing its damage on round 2. And remember, every time you get into combat, you have 10 rounds that you play. And sometimes you'll battle a new foe. And I'm pretty sure when you battle the new foe, you start all over at like round 1, round 2, round 3. But your grand total working towards 10 rounds keeps ticking up. I'm pretty sure that you fire off these abilities against a second opponent. I would have to look at a battle report to confirm that. But why did I personally really go all in on this build is that now I'm fighting other players. And what I want to do when I'm fighting other players, especially if I think I overpower them, is I want to do as much damage up front as I possibly can to eliminate the army. That's my game plan. I want to do the absolute most ridiculous amount of damage with Whirlwind and All In as I possibly can up front so that I could just completely wreck an army. And if I am understanding correctly that you get these abilities again when you battle your next foe, if you're still within 10 rounds, then like it becomes extremely good to have these high damage abilities to eliminate an enemy quickly, get to the next one, and then get to do them again. But once you get to loyalty level 5, here's where things get really spicy. And I picked Warrior of the Lonely Mountain, and I took it all the way to the max to reduce the burn damage that I take. When I battle tiles I found that at least in the area where I was starting, they were doing so much burn damage, it was ridiculous. So I went and I have reduced the burn damage I take by 50%. That just seems insanely good for taking tiles. Now, in my late game build, maybe I should switch off of that. It is entirely possible I should drop back into a build that is more focused on the first part of the tree. But I like reducing the damage I take by 15%. That seems pretty good. Top that off with the 50% burn damage reduction, and I'm pretty happy there. It's the whole army that is benefiting from this, okay? And you can see it says army, not commander over here. Not that commanders take damage anyways when you're in combat, but you get the idea. Now, you could go and boost your commander's damage to large units, which, if I was focused on taking down high-level tiles and I were doing it all over again, I would consider boosting the commander damage. I felt like the majority of the damage being dealt, though, was from the rest of my army, not the commander. So I wasn't in love with things that just boosted the commander only compared to other options. And then also the commander can ignore the physical defense of the target. Well, so at least this would work against any target that you're fighting and not just the large units, which is right over here. So it is really possible that I am seriously under-indexing on how good Longbeard could be, and I should have my points there instead of other places, and I just haven't tested it yet. But this is the build I have been using. It's been working very well. I've tried just a number of builds with this commander, and I hope this breakdown of what all these points do help you understand why it is that Dwalin is such a strong hero, because he just does a lot of damage, and he doesn't really care what type of unit is in your army. You can use him with basically anything. Like, really, just about anything can be in your army, which is a nice situation. He's just really high skill damage and really good at taking out high-level tiles, which is why he's really good for any inexperienced player in this game, which includes me. Like, I feel like we're all still learning this game, okay? Let's be honest. I mean, that's the reality of where we're at. So where would I allocate my stats to Dwalin with equipment? I opted for things that improved might. He was my first commander, right? And I got this Warhammer at the start. I was like, man, defense of my dwarves, let's freaking go. I'm using all dwarves. Are you kidding me? So I've kind of now committed myself to a full dwarf army here, which I don't think is maybe necessarily the best, but it's not the worst either. It's really quite fine. And also, I make it so that my commander's normal attacks against a target have a 50% chance of inflicting a defense reduction. That's sort of fine. I got a little bit of might and focus, along with a might booster every single round from this legendary. I got really lucky getting this legendary, but it turns out that I probably would be better off with an epic that's got a couple stars into it. Live and learn. And then the helmet has got might and speed. And I think if I were redoing all of my equipment onto Dwalin, I would focus on might, I would focus on speed, and anything that makes it so that I'm doing just more damage, right? And in this case, I've got melee unit hit points. I'm not using all melee units, so that's not amazing. But given that this is a $3 account, you know, my options were extremely limited. Here is a might focus army hit points, and against orc units, I get a little bit of a damage boost. I had what I had, and so I'm using what I had, okay? Not a ton of options available to me, but Dwalin benefits from might. He benefits from focus, and very obviously, he will benefit from speed, making his units march faster and also go faster in their turn order. Now, when it comes to increasing your loyalty level on Dwalin, you have really a couple options for who else you could have put these loyalty items into. And if you're using these pipeweeds, yeah, gosh bless, to improve your loyalty with this commander, you give him drugs. Joking aside, this pipeweed over here, you could use instead on Merry and Pippin or Ori. And if I just show you what those commanders are doing, I think you would never choose one of those commanders over Dwalin. And why is that? If we get a look at Ori, and we get a look at his portrait, he is actually a Dwalin clone. Believe it or not, he is a clone of Dwalin, except he's worse. Why is he worse? You may recognize Musician was exactly what you had, along with Relief and also Level-Headed. Those look really familiar. You may remember that Durin's Blood is literally the same thing with All In and Whirlwind as Dwalin. you may remember that Warrior of the Lonely Mountain and also Giant Slayer and Longbeard are literally identical to what you had on Dwalin. But what sucks over here is that in your tier 1, you've got Clerk, which is giving you focus. Okay. I mean, if you want to do a musician build, this is what you would want, is Clerk. And then experience from tips and time needed to do tips. That's gross, man. I mean, this dude just has less options. Unless you think that musician is OP, and maybe it is. And if you're going for a musician build, then you're better off with a Clerk musician Ori. But I did not find, I haven't used it, but I'm guessing it's not going to be better than what you can do with Dwalin. Maybe that's wrong. And I'm happy to be proven wrong there. And the other option here is Merry and Pippin. And gosh bless Merry and Pippin, have to be the most unfocused commander option at tier 1, right? Because you can do a healing build. You have freaking tips in here, which is awful, man. Like, I don't want tip speed. I want combat effectiveness. And I get that when you have tons of commanders, you could use your faster tippers to go and do tips. Okay, sure. You can do that. But like, I don't care about tip speed. I never at any point in my time playing, even when I was refreshing 200 gems and 400 gems for tips, did I feel like I ever needed tip speed. I'm just going to throw that out there. And then they get good with men and hobbits. I never even found hobbits my entire time playing so far. And they're good with ents. I mean, dude, you practically cannot use Merry and Pippin for anything except like that war chant healer stuff and then tipping. Like, and then you've got to get all the way up to the highest tier to get the benefit of reducing your chance to succumb to madness, which like could be awesome. But so far in my playing the game, madness has not at any point really been explained at all, nor do I even know if I've encountered it. So like, maybe that's good. But between those 3 options, I'm going to say Dwalin is really freaking solid. I've put a lot into him. I'm happy I did that. He was my starting commander when I went with the dwarves. And I've got to say, man, the dwarves are freaking awesome. If you found this guide to be helpful, throw a like on here and subscribe to the channel for Lord of the Rings Rise to War videos designed to help you get value and smash your enemies. More commander guides are on the way. So if you want to see that, you should be subscribed so you don't miss out. And I'll have a card up in the top for my playlist where I'm taking tiles, and you can see all throughout that playlist, Dwalin is one of my heavy hitters. I explain the build I'm using on many of the attacks that I do so you can see them in action. And I'll tell you, I've been getting very trade positive reports every single time I take this sucker out to battle other players too. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies.